Miroya Kedogo, a resident of Kajiado County, Kajiado North Sub-County. I have an organization called Tulivu Safe Haven, which rescues survivors of gender-based violence and children in need of care and protection. Actually, I am a gender-based violence survivor, GBV survivor. I went through physical abuse, and I got injured physically. So it took me 9 years to heal. Because I needed corrective surgery. I live without some parts of my body. So some parts had to be removed, like my umbilicus, because my stomach was torn into. So I waited, because I needed to do the corrective surgery, and the doctor said that the linings of that opening were very weak. So I needed to wait for them to heal so I could get the repair. So we waited. I was using painkillers, and I was in and out of hospital until I developed a very big hernia around my umbilicals. So when I went for the surgery, it had to be removed, and a gauze had to be put on my tummy. So I stayed at the hospital for like 9 months. It took 9 years for the correction, 9 months at the hospital waiting for a delicate surgery. And then after the surgery, it took me also like 2 years to heal because of the delicacy of the organ at the stomach. But that was in 2015. So 10 years ago, I'm now healed. I am a champion. I work with women who go through domestic violence. I make sure they get help, be it reporting, be it taking them to a shelter, be it getting justice. That is what I do. Beneficiaries are survivors of gender-based violence and children in need of care and protection. Children go through defilement, they go through rape, they go through assault. So I am a fast responder to such cases in the community because I am also a community health promoter. I'm a child protection volunteer in my county. So beneficiaries are majorly women and children. According to my statistics, I have 216 survivors, documented cases. Yes, some are still in safe houses, some are recovering. Some cases are in court. So I will talk about rescue that I had of a lady who had gone through domestic violence, and she was 5 months pregnant. So I'm just usually a phone call away. So when that phone call came through, and I respond, it's a risky affair, but I usually just go, trusting God. I have the OCS's number, but I usually inform him that I'm going somewhere to do a rescue. So when we went, it was still happening. There were screams in that house. The lady was still being beaten, and I heard her screaming that utaniua. So I was with the mzee wa nyumba kumi, so we had to force our way to that house. It was like a slaughterhouse. There was blood all over, glass all over. They had been fighting the whole night. That was the wee hours of the morning, and she was pregnant, and she was lying down. She said, utaniua. And now when the guy had people forcing the door, he escaped through the window. So I rescued the woman. I made sure that she was able to sit and give her reassurance that I'm here to help you. I thought the baby had died in her womb. So we mobilized the community to get her to Nairobi Women's Hospital. It was in Rongai that time. They have since moved to Adams. So we took her to GVRC, and it was bad. I was holding her. She had been, one part of her arms had been slit, and she was bleeding, and you wouldn't know where. the injury was. It was a wake-up call because it was an emergency. And I was there with the survivor. So at Nairobi Women, they received me so well. And from the security person, he just said, "You are a champion." And I was like, wow. They had been trained how to receive survivors. And she was admitted at the facility for 5 more days. The baby was not kicking, and we thought the baby was dead. And I called the OCS. I told him that I have a survivor, the perpetrator is on the run, but the chief can help you get that guy. He was on the run. So I kept moving, looking for how to get that man. He had moved away. He had taken off. So that story of that woman made me feel like, how many women are dying without reporting? If I was not there, what would have happened? If we didn't force our way through that door, she would have died. And it would just been a data, a number. So we saved her life. She was in and out of hospital. The baby was born premature. She's one of my champions. She's my first survivor. And since I rescued that woman, and we started now the court battles, the hearing, I was always there. And finally the perpetrator was apprehended. It was the best story I had ever had. And when she got her baby, she told me that I will name this baby after you because you saved her. And she named that baby Ebby. And the baby is now 5 years old. And that is what inspired me. Yeah, people tell me it's a risky affair. But I usually ask, if I don't, who will? Who will? Everybody's afraid. When I call the police, they tell me they need to take 30 minutes to be sure it is okay. I just go. I go. I'm not armed. I just go. And I'm like, I have come here to rescue. I mean, no harm. So that was my motivation. And since that day, it has been rescue after rescue. People now call me. I do community sensitization through the chief's barazas. Yes, and I talk to people about how to prevent gender-based violence and how to embrace dialogue and how to involve another party if you can never agree. And I'm preaching even on church pulpits because that is where it is, they are silent. I remember I needed an appointment with a certain pastor to talk about GBV. And he said, no, people forgive. I said, yeah, and that is why there's femicide. Yeah. And now they are giving me a chance to talk about it. And I'm happy. Sometimes I look at the successes more than the challenges, because the challenges are many, especially financial challenges, especially sometimes becoming the target. Because when you're dealing with perpetrators and they know there's a jail term, you become the target. I live in the same community. And I go to that court and you see the perpetrator sitting in the same court. And sometimes I'm a witness. So those are risks. I have not had any witness protection working for me. I tried to apply, nothing works. Yeah, so I just work by the grace of God. And I keep moving. And I think I have a very strong support group among my friends. As you can see, one of them here. They believe in what I do. They support what I do. They keep cheering me on. And that is why I'm here. The biggest gap we have is the financial resource. We also need our own safe house, a shelter. We keep talking about this because when I rescue, my survivors need temporary shelter before they get back to their feet. And sometimes, apart from my friends who will come through and help, I still have to refer them. So our main immediate need is to get that safe house. Our long-term need is to have the systems in place of having those rapid response systems whereby a survivor can just, dial a number and somebody from the rescue center goes to pick that survivor. Because the waiting, the gaps are many. And that is now where we get a perpetrator escaping or a survivor getting worse. We're looking at rapid response unit from the safe house. Most of the survivors I have worked with, we have formed a support group. Being a survivor and now a champion, when I work with them, I give them hope. I tell them I was once there and I didn't know I would make it. In fact, when I was lying at the hospital bed in Kenyatta, I always bargained with God that, God, if you give me another chance, I will work with women who go through the same. So we have formed a support group where we meet every month. We do a chama, merry-go-round, economic empowerment. So we also do peer counseling among ourselves. And sometimes I invite professional counselors. I invite financial experts to come and train us on financial literacy. And last year it was very successful. This year it's even bigger because now I can see them having a lot of trust in saving and healing. And we visit one another for encouragement. We have a small emergency kit for one another. So we work together as a family.